Hello! Today, we're going to dive into a conflict that doesn't make the front pages of every newspaper and magazine, but has the power to redraw the map of North America once and for all. We're talking, of course, about water. More precisely, about its shortage in the USA and its abundance in Canada.
Announced that the U.S. government has paused negotiations on the expansive Columbia River Treaty, saying the current administration is reviewing its international engagements.
Against the backdrop of deadly wildfires in Los Angeles and the complete drying up of the western United States, our favorite president and chosen one, Donald Trump, has once again pulled out his signature move. He pointed north and declared, "They have millions of gallons of water up there. It pours down from the snow caps. They basically have a very big faucet."
We have millions of gallons of water pouring down from the north with the snow caps in Canada and all pouring down. And they have essentially a very large faucet.
You know, it couldn't be any simpler. By the way, there's a bitter truth in his statement. Canada owns nearly 1/5 of all the fresh water on our planet. And Trump, as a true businessman, doesn't see this as Canada's national treasure, but as an untapped asset that can be taken from his neighbor. To understand why this conversation is no joke, just look to the south. For example, the Colorado River, which supplies water to 40 million Americans. And right now, this river is barely flowing. And Lake Mead is the largest reservoir in the United States. It's at historic lows. And this isn't just a problem with water supply. When the water level in Lake Mead drops, it doesn't just expose cracked earth where nothing grows. It reveals some very interesting things and the most intimate secrets of the American West. In fact, an interesting detail is that in recent years, the low water has already revealed human remains several times, including bodies. These are bodies that were dumped at the bottom of the river back in the days when the Las Vegas Mafia was at its peak. It turns out that the American crisis is so deep that it is literally washing skeletons out of the closet. And this is probably the only thing that can distract people from politics. Against the backdrop of this desperate problem, Trump is offering his favorite solution. Frankly, it's something only he could say. Of course, this will be a resource-based aggression. If you remember his trade war with Canada over lumber, I had a video about this on my channel. He imposed crazy tariffs, claiming we don't need their lumber, we have more than enough ourselves. Well, I think you already understand what the result was. About a third of the lumber used for building American homes comes from Canada. Tariffs skyrocketed, housing prices in America rose sharply, and millions of American families experienced a real shock to their mortgage dreams, to their dreams of owning their own home in the USA. This is the price America pays when Trump declares an ordinary commodity like water a national security issue. And now he wants to pull the same trick with water. There are already proposals. For example, pipeline networks, known as the cooperative flow. But Ottawa understands that this isn't cooperation. It's a quiet, slow economic incursion into Canada's affairs. We need to understand this and take this situation very seriously. But fortunately, Canada responded quickly and sharply. Their refusal rang out like a bell. Prime Minister Mark Putin. Mark Carney clearly stated that water is not a commodity for trade, it is a public trust. But there is a small inaccuracy here that we cannot ignore. Mark Carney, who made this doctrinal statement, was actually never the Prime Minister of Canada. He is one of the most influential financiers in the world. Carney was the head of the Bank of Canada and later led the Bank of England. And here's the crux of the matter. The strongest strategic no that could have been said in this situation. This was not said by a politician, but by a central banker who truly understands the value of a given resource. He wasn't speaking as a green activist. He spoke as a financial strategist who understands the cost of risk. He warned that as soon as water becomes a global commodity, It turns into a financial asset, subject to market rules rather than the needs of the people of Canada. This means only one thing: trade agreements and corporate interests can quickly undermine Canada's domestic control over its natural resources. Carney's argument is this: water is the foundation of sovereignty. To sell water is to sell a part of the nation's future. This is much more powerful than any political speech because it's a prophecy from a financial guru. And now let's talk about the current political game. British Columbia announced that the US government has suspended negotiations on the important Columbia River Treaty, citing a review of international commitments. The Columbia River Treaty, signed in 1961, was primarily about flood control and hydropower in general, not about large-scale water diversion for drinking or irrigation. This was water intended for other purposes. By halting negotiations on this treaty now, it's a strategic decision they want to make regarding water. Simply put, this is classic blackmail and a show of force by the United States. If we translate this from diplomatic language, in Trump's language, he would say something like, "We're shutting down this little boring treaty from the 1960s, some really old agreement, until you agree to our new proposals regarding your Canadian fresh water. We're busy, and you'll just have to wait until we need your reservoir." This puts Canada in a position where it has to protect its resource as a matter of national security, not just as an environmental value. They are investing billions in domestic water conservation and ecosystem restoration, calling it a national defense plan. Because in a world where drought is spreading and superpowers are facing shortages, negotiations can very quickly turn into ultimatums, often unacceptable ones. From a philosophical point of view, the essence of this dispute is, on one hand, the perception of water as a commodity, as a trade flow, as an economic field. And on the other hand, water can be seen as sovereignty, as a sacred heritage, as the foundation of a nation passed down to us from our fathers and grandmothers and grandfathers. Canada has an undeniable advantage. That resource is water. The United States also has an undeniable advantage on its side. That is the power they can wield. Water is becoming what oil once was, and whoever controls this resource controls the future. Canada said no. But will it be able to maintain that no when pressure from the South turns into an existential demand? Stay with us. We will continue to analyze this event, and I will keep you updated on all the latest news. Like, subscribe. Goodbye.